So, hi everyone. We're going to start with our PowerPoint. Let me get that up there, right there. So, hi everyone. So we we have a couple people to talk to us with our group. So Ilana is going to talk with us with the word STEM, and then also Christian is also going to talk a little bit about his research. So, what we do, what we do at MAAC, we connect people with aphasia and caregivers and care partners. So, if anybody wants any caregivers um, to put a to talk in another room on Zoom, you can do that. So if anybody wants to do that, just let me know. So we also do uh, every on twice a month. We do our Zoom for our support groups, and then we also um, do some in personal things that are coming up. Um, so some of the uh,
Hmm.
some of the guidelines that we talk want for you to we ask uh, respectful and sensitive to one to others. We ask time for others to speak, and then we ask uh, we our aim is to use aphasia friendly communication. We ask all to mute your mic uh, until you speak. We do not give medical advice, and we don't ask for politics or religion also. So, um, just for we're going to start with Christian to talk to his research. And do you want to use your do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, that would be perfect. I have
Okay,
my laptop now, so
sure.
okay. Okay, cool. Let me, can everybody tell me if they see that?
Yes.
That's a little
Yeah.
better. Yes. Mhm.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about my research. Fred, you've already heard this, so thanks for listening to it again. So I'm doing research on poetry and aphasia. Basically, I have a question about what factors influence someone with aphasia to want to do poetry, to kind of express themselves or feel better, so to speak. And to do that, I'm going to collect data. So if you guys are interested, I'll be asking you to take part in a research study. Basically, it's fully voluntary, it's up to you. And like I said, we're asking questions about how people with aphasia feel about poetry. Um, yeah, we'll be testing you or just asking you some questions based on a poem written by Mark. So Mark was kind enough to let us use one of his poems, Trust, and he recorded himself reading it as well. So I'll ask you some questions about creativity and whether or not you've ever been interested in poetry, how you like writing, how you like reading. Then we'll read Mark's poem together, and then I'll ask you some more questions about poetry and writing and what interests you have. It only takes about 40 minutes to an hour. And it's completely voluntary, and I get to pay you if you're interested. So I believe it's $30 that for your time, which makes a big difference in my ability to finish my thesis and get information that I hope will be useful in the future. It'll be recorded, and yeah. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me. I'm working on this with Dr. Schwen Blackett, and I'm doing it for my thesis for my UCF graduate program. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know, and you can contact me at this email right here. Oh, this email right here, um, or yeah, I believe my if you email me, I can also give you my phone number if that's easier for you as well.
And we could send that out to the group too.
Awesome.
Okay.
And I would really encourage if you guys have any interest at all, to reach out. I reached out to Poems and Speech, and a lot of people showed interest, which is really amazing, and I'm deeply grateful for that. But for my research, I also need people who don't know anything about poetry and aren't attending a poetry group, to get the other side of that conversation. So if you don't care about poetry, but you want to help out a graduate student, then it would be super helpful.
Thank you, Christian. I really appreciate you coming here to talk to the group.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for letting me
Okay,
speak.
sure.
Christian, I used to live by UCF,
Oh, cool. What area?
Oviedo.
Oh, I live right next to Oviedo. I live in Winter Springs.
Okay, I know that is.
Nice.
Okay. All right, let me see. All right, let me go back here. And okay. And, and I will send that to the group too. Thank you. And here is, this will go to everyone else. I'll send the PowerPoint with the information. And Ayana, this will be your turn. And I'll also put in here with Melissa's information there too. So if you want to talk to our group and tell us about the WORDStim, we really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. How's everybody doing? Um, I appreciated being able to hear a little bit of you guys, before the meeting start. And, thank you again for inviting me. I met Mark at Temple University, and it was there that I was with Melissa, who is also on the Zoom. And Melissa is also a speech pathologist. We were talking about WORDStim, family and friends. And I'm not really going to bore you with the whole story, but essentially, speech pathology is a wide field, right? Some people work with children, and I did some of that, and I loved it. But I also really fell in love with the adult population, and I became intrigued by what was happening to adults who had suffered strokes and then ultimately ended up with aphasia. So, but what I see in the acute setting, but primarily in subacute and long term nursing homes, I felt something that I didn't feel comfortable with. And that is that people had a really restricted way of life. particularly if they were in a nursing home, but also even if they were in the community. And I have to tell you, after many years of just observing and also having at least one patient say to me, I really want to speak again. And she didn't say it that way, but I got her communication. She would keep running out of insurance. And after she would get more insurance access at the beginning of the year, she would come back for outpatient. And I have to tell you, I did well in speech. I love adult language, but I didn't feel that all of the answers were there. If she wanted to move beyond barely getting a word out to really speaking fluently, I felt like something more had to happen. And over time, it ended up being WORDStim, which is based in research, but also just based in having fun and, playing a game. So, I have to keep the medical situation with patients private, right? Because of HIPAA. So I really accrued a lot of this research in the, not secrecy, but without, being on social media and everything. But eventually I did get some permission from patients to be able to play the game and be able to show others what was happening with WORDStim. So what I will do is I'm going to show you a video, and this is actually on our website. Let's see, I think I can screen share. And I do want to tell you that with this patient, let's see if it comes right on. Hold on. And then you'll let me know about the audio. Let's see if I can get this bigger.
Okay, good.
You guys know I couldn't even
All right,
unmute,
so take a
hold
spin.
on. Give me a minute. Okay, here we go. Okay. If I can just preface this and let you know that the person I'm going to show you, when I first met him, he was under 50 years old. He was confined to a nursing home. He also had apraxia, right? And I don't know if some of you here are dealing with that. And I have to tell you, he couldn't do WORDStim at first. I had to really walk him through rebuilding his sound system. So when he finally was able to do WORDStim, this is like one of his first sessions. I'm going to turn my computer up.
Okay, good. All right, so I want you to take a spin. Okay, so you're going to find that color card. Let's turn it around. Good. I see you looking up, right? Let's do it together. Right? Yeah. Good. Excellent. That was really good. All right.
Okay, that was just a short selection, and the context is what happens with WORDStim, and I would be happy to play it live here with a few of you. What happened is, WORDStim is a board-based game where you get to turn a spinner, right? And I have people color match, and then they pick a card, and this is called our Aphasia specialty deck. So the Aphasia specialty deck looks like this. And all of these cards, okay, talking about over 200 cards, it took me some years, but these have been especially selected in order to bring about verbal cueing and memory and responses so that people can, one, build their vocabulary system. And ultimately, what I'm doing is if I have an individual who can barely either say a word to either say a phrase to a sentence, we start with that and we start connecting that based on their memory and based on their own personal experience. Okay. And so it's different for everyone. Um, and I will just say this and then we can start playing. It's when we were at Temple, I found myself that I have to ask permission because I'm not quote unquote diagnosing anyone. We're just having a conversation, you know? I'm not saying whether someone is right or wrong about these answers. I'm just listening. And the young man that you saw, he is still in that nursing home only because he is unable to navigate his life without any language. What happened with him is his speech ended because his insurance ended. And he is on a type of insurance. And I'm able to reveal this to you because he was and his family was able to give me permission. He's on a type of insurance where he can barely probably ever get speech. And I see this so many times. And I believe that a lot of times people have more ability, but if either you don't have access to speech pathology or you can't drive there or get there, sometimes it's hard for some people to really be able to move beyond where they are. We're not saying that, you know, your speech has to be the level that it was before stroke, but we think that people have better abilities, and that's what WORDStim has become. Now, before we start playing, does anyone have any questions? And also, Melissa's on. Melissa is, I was so happy to meet Melissa one day. We were in an Aphasia Zoom, and I met her, and she's in California, and she's come aboard with us. She actually is a patient, and she's used WORDStim on, so she's also able to answer any questions you have. But is it okay, Mark, if we ask if anyone has any questions that they'd
Sure.
like to ask?
Yes. Anybody questions? I think Denise does.
Yeah, one second. Okay, got it. I wanted to know, like, is this developed mostly for less verbal, or like does it go up levels? So if it's a group of persons who want to play but they're more fluent, is it like is it leveled or somehow like that? Does that work?
Yeah, I understand. So I would say, so yes. And it depends on each person, right? So if I had met any of you in either the hospital or the subacutes where I work, and I picked you up for speech, I would do a standard evaluation, right? And you would get this degree. You're either mild or minimum mild or moderate or severe. And yes, it began for very severe populations. However, I remember I had a guy, he was a surgeon, and unfortunately he had a stroke when he was washing his hands. He was getting ready to do a surgery, and he had retained this amazing vocabulary after the stroke. What unfortunately he also had a right brain stroke, so he was also affected with his social and pragmatic skills. For him, he would just give one word response but was able to say more. So we use WORDStim. So although his verbal expression was still, he could probably produce a phrase, he was very flat with it, and he had poor conversation skills. So with someone who's mild, I would just say, you know what, you could try it. And if you think, hey, you know what, I'm A+ in WORDStim, that's great. I like to use it for almost everyone because some of the times while people are flowing out their sentences, that may be where they have problems, or they may have some processing difficulties. and they may get stuck on that. So I have had some people who were mild and like to use it to flow sentences. And then we also encourage people to write them out. Like you can do a response and then write your sentences so that people can get help with that. But yeah, it is. I like to say to people, try it. And if you're like, you know what, I'm acing this, maybe you can be a communication partner for someone else who, who also has it, and you can help other people with it. Oh,
Oh,
Mark,
Mark,
you're muted.
There, here I am. Okay. I like that you're doing this. That's for people to have aphasia, because there's a lot of things of these, like these uh, conversation starters. Uh, but to do something with people that have aphasia, this would be really good to do something like that, I think. So.
yeah. And have you guys, there's a talk of communication tips, right, for when people have aphasia. And you guys may know some of them, but they're usually aimed at caregivers. And so I'll give you an example. Like a popular communication tip is to speak slowly. You guys have heard of that one? Okay.
Mhm.
So I've been happy to meet even more people with aphasia. And some people who are more mild and minimum, they can get some stuff out. It's funny when I hear them talk about what they think of these communication tips. It's kind of like, I know one person, she's really funny. Her name is Angie, and she can do a whole comedy skit, but speak slowly. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think some communication tips are not necessarily helpful. I know I don't have aphasia. So what I'm into is putting a person with aphasia in a driver's seat. Another one is use shorter sentences. Yes, a lot of this can be helpful. Allow extra time to process and speak. Give one direction at a time. All of this is really, really good. However, the person with aphasia, my feeling is that we all want to improve something in our life. Like Melissa does. She works on her speech, and right, Melissa. She
I do. Yeah, we're all working on our own communication skills. I'm a member of Toastmasters, and I'm always trying to refine, public speaking skills. I like the question you asked Denise earlier because I work with I have a few patients with aphasia, and they are what we would probably consider more fluent aphasia, where we have those anomic pauses, but we still are able to have a conversation. And when we play WordStim together, it looks differently than the example that you saw in the video. When I play a word stem with my patients with aphasia, it looks like maybe we'll get that same card that says plane, but I'll ask them to tell me a story about the last time they were on the plane or on a plane or their first time on a plane. And how did you feel about it? What did it look like? And then we're trying to expand and stretch the language. And when we challenge someone to stretch their abilities beyond what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, that's when we really can get that practice in to encourage neuroplasticity, because we know neuroplasticity never ends, right? We always have the ability to make new connections and grow those neural pathways. We just have to get that practice.
Do you want to show more about your game?
Yeah, so what we'll do is we will, so this is the spinner for WordStim, and actually while I show you this, I'll go back to um the after, so I'll go back to the website because you can see the whole depiction. So you get a spinner, and this is built after or elaborated on something called semantic features analysis. So if you were in speech therapy, your therapist probably asked you about where you can find things and other types of, the categories of words. So this was developed out of this, and we added some more sensory things, like to talk about how things taste or what have you. And then we also have cards. So what's really important is not only just playing it, but developing a relationship. Because I even I WORDStim is based on who's playing a game, right? So the first thing that would happen is you would spin, right? So is there someone who wants to be brave and raise their hand and play WORDStim with me first? You can say me or uh, I'll take a spin. Anybody want to?
I see Anne has her hand up.
Anne has her hand up. Okay, let me see if I can find Anne on
I'm right
this.
here.
Okay. All right, good. So I'm gonna spin. Actually, it's funny when I did this. Now I can't see myself. Okay, so I'm gonna take a spin for you, right?
Oh,
You
yes.
would be here, right? And so this one, this arrow is kind of hard to see, is here on this one, and I'm gonna pick the card. So if you were with me, right, I would
Mhm.
have you. I would just say pick this color card because I actually have some patients who they're working. I like to see if they're color matching. It may seem for some people you'd be surprised, right? But
Mhm.
also I like the procedure. So I have them do everything. So then you would pick this card yourself. And I like the patients to just do all of it, the visual and the touching. And then we would turn it around.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I would say to you, okay, tell me about this word that you picked. And I'm always looking at reading. Okay.
Yeah,
So you would just tell me that. I don't know if you could see if it's
I
cute.
can.
Okay, good. So I would just say, okay, Anne, what are we going to talk about?
Okay, a ruler.
Okay, good. And then I'm going to say, okay, we're going to talk about how things look. Okay.
Okay,
Because you got the concept over here. You got the concept of look. Okay.
yeah.
So let's talk about how a ruler looks.
Okay, it has different, it's not square, but there's l- length to it and there's numbers in it. And you can measure things with it.
Yes, I love that. Good. And
And okay,
I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
no, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we do with WordStim is I have and actually I'm gonna grab it for you. After you do this, right, we're going to score this, right, your response, okay, and there's a numerical scoring system and it's based on like your word finding. So you said a lot of words that I would have expected you to say, right? You talked about shape, you approach shape, and you said it's not a square. I got where you're going, right? You talked about numbers, and then you said, oh, what the function was that it's used to measure. So by you talking about the shape, or even if you said, okay, it's not that it has numbers, that would account for how something looked. Because when you actually see a ruler, and that's what we're doing, we are making use of your memory even before you had the stroke, right? To help and to get you further into that section of your mind of where those words are banked in your mind at that time. Okay. And what I like to do is just kind of play very easily, especially the first and second session. Okay. We work on word finding. And then I would say, maybe we will join that. Okay. So a ruler has numbers and it's used to measure. If you want, we can even do that and we can start doing some connections. And I recommend people play 5 to 7 words. If a family word stem, I would say, hey, if you can do it 2 times a week with a person and play it, about 5 to 7 words, that would get you about 20 minutes. And then you would just keep moving, and it tends to add on, your overall skills as the days go by, you know.
If I
Um,
if I may add something, Ayana, um, as a little background, as Ayana mentioned, we met in an aphasia support group. We were just both two SLPs that were excited to meet more people with aphasia. And when I learned about WordStim, what I fell in love with personally was the scoring board because what's really neat about it is it not only counts or calculates how many words were said, but it also calculates or can track how much support is provided. Now, if you're playing with a family or a friend or, care partner, for example, what you can do is you can let them know ahead of time, I don't want more than minimal help today, which is a really great way to essentially manage your own practice, right? You are advocating for yourself and you're letting others know, don't step in and speak for me. I want to try to get as many words as I can without your help. And this is not only helpful for the person with aphasia, but it's also helpful for the family or for the friends or whoever you're playing with to get that practice and to realize I don't need to always step in to support them if I think that I know what they're trying to say. Because I've heard from so many people that I've worked with that we just don't want anyone else speaking for me. So when you can let them know ahead of time, only give me minimal support or don't give me any unless I ask you, then that's a really nice way to use the game to set yourself up for practice and for support.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other content? Well, Anne, how was that for you?
I think this is excellent. I think that also the aspect that you're touching something, that's like when you're holding something and like the numbers are there, it's like such a huge difference than when you're looking at some computer skill or so, computer screen. So no, this seems fabulous, you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. And
Yeah.
I was really happy that I actually do have a patent on WordStim on the scoring system. And the my patent agent, he used to he does not want this to be digitized because he believes so much in it as a board game, and I do too. Like I've seen people do this, like when they're in the throes of their aphasia and they're first playing, they'll tap
Yeah.
this, and I
Yeah.
have to they have to relearn with spinning, and it may not be that way after you're out of it, but it's amazing what I see people do with their bodies
Yup.
and how I think even touching and movement, it
Yup.
is cognitive and it can contribute to just making us all smarter, you know. So I appreciate you saying that. Any other takers for at least one more spin with
So
WordStim?
one little question.
Oh, sure.
I mean, so it is for basically is in person, right?
Yes.
But is there, I mean, could you actually do a way that you do a virtual way to do it as well?
Yes. I mean, so during COVID, I met a patient who or person who was living with aphasia. He's actually one of my mom's friends, her brother-in-law. And I saw him at an event and he was barely speaking. But to make a long story short, it ended up that they were interested in working with me. And he may be on a lot of my materials. His name is Walter. Amazing. Like, okay, so I say all that to say that he was too far from me in Piscataway. So I actually did create a digital version. We did WordStim all on a computer. I just haven't made that available yet, but it can help because he went from barely being able to speak and now he like speaks in fluent sentences. He still does speech. He still struggles with dysarthria, and so we are working on that. But he came a long way, and it was on the computer because I just, with COVID and everything, and even our distance, we actually do everything online, and I certainly want to make that happen. So once individuals do get this physically, we hope that by the end of this year, at least, we will be able to move to make it on digital because I've seen that it can help.
Yeah, I can see. I think I love what you guys were talking about in person, but I like in virtual as well because you can bring so many different people to do,
And
other
more.
places as well. So I think it would be great to do that.
Okay, thank you. That's great. I would like to also let you guys know that there is now in a companion app with this that makes it so that you can record um, all of your the words that you're doing. And let's see, I think I can briefly show you that. Let's see if this is going to work here. Okay, I'm going to press play.
These are real people, real families, and real moments of finding words again. Every person you see here represents effort, frustration, hope, and progress. I've worked with people at every stage of speech and language recovery, and one thing is always clear. Practice matters, but connection matters more. And that's why I created WORDStim, Family and Friends. It's a simple, game-based way for families to practice speech and language together, at home, without pressure. The companion app makes it easier to track progress and word cues. In addition, a community posting space is available for pictures and comments. Because every recovery doesn't just happen in therapy sessions. It happens in living rooms, around tables with people who care. WordStim helps bring speech practice back into everyday life where it belongs.
All right. I didn't know. Do we have time for someone to do one more spin? Or if you guys have any questions about anything that was said.
So I actually had a quick question. I'm currently in my externship at a SNF. And I'm wondering if you ever used WordStim outside of aphasia for general cognitive decline for reaching those language goals for people with dementia or something.
So the answer is yes.
Okay.
In fact, for a lot of people with dementia and in that environment, I've actually seen some when I've used it with, an individual who was maybe they were really quiet and people said they just had dementia. And then when we started to play WordStim, I would see the CNAs and the nurses looking like they were shocked that the person had all this language. And that's kind of what happens, right? Like, sometimes people feel like they get into this world of like there's no use for them, right? Because they're not speaking. One woman I spoke with, she used to be a principal for many years, for decades in the east in the a nearby district. And here's this woman who helped to educate children, and unfortunately, she did develop dementia, but she had so much in her. And so that's why I like this as a game. Where that's helpful for me is long term is, can we, one, make it so that, because sometimes even with aging, that can affect speech and language. So keeping up conversational skills. And I even have I don't post too much on my YouTube channel, but I did this series called Stories Matter because this one woman, she had progressive aphasia, which we know is a form of dementia, right? And starts there. And she started telling me that she grew up on a farm and about how farming was so important and how her family farmed. And I just think of all the stories that we don't get because of silence or because people are not seen. And so I love to use WordStim just to have fun. I like to see a person, like I said, spin, pick a card. Will they remember the next time to pick the card, to turn the card around, to work on their reading? And I noticed that a lot of people with aphasia really retain quite a bit of reading skills. But if we don't work on them in speech or make it natural, then it's like they won't necessarily work on it. So the answer is yes, yes, yes. I like to just play it as a game, just to lighten up the atmosphere and to have fun and to be surprised. Because with WordStim, right, so you have all these different colors. And one thing that happens is, right, like this one, if you spin smell and you get roses, that's a whole other concept that you're going to pull off, right? And I had this gentleman I work with, he was barely speaking, but what I noticed with WordStim is it's going to trigger different things, right? Because actually language recovery is not linear. And he pulled the word water, and we had to talk about location. Where would you find water? So we were talking about this concept. No, this one. I'm all mixed up on Zoom. This is location. And he said the curb. So I'm gonna tell you why that had a lot of meaning to me. It blew me away. Like I get way too excited sometimes at worse than like I know my patients must think I'm crazy sometimes, but I get so excited because he barely had language. And when he said the curb, I was surprised that he said it. And then I realized he grew up in Staten Island. I grew up in Harlem, New York. The curb in New York was, I'll date myself, right? I'm over 50. We played in a curb in New York. That's where we played, and we would have races in the curb in the water. It was ridiculous. And he grew up like that, but I never knew him, of course. And it was like his memory pulled that word out. So you can blast through the aphasia with personal experience and memory. But if we only do therapy that's flat, right? I use all the other things in therapy. If you've had aphasia, like how many people here have had speech therapy? Raise your hand. 1, 2. Oh, okay. All right. So if you've had cards and picture cards and papers, I use that too. I like that stuff. But I also think we have to shake it up a bit. And I actually use that stuff differently based on what I find out from people, like what's their real natural language. So, like I said, with that whole curb thing, man, that blew me away that he said curb. I didn't think he had the word in him. And then his wife said, oh no, he grew up in Staten Island. So he and I, in another world where we didn't know each other, we were both playing the curb somewhere in New York, and it had meaning to us. And so that's why I like that we get to talk about different things. And I find that people surprise themselves because they're surprised that word came out. So let's say, for example, with him, his name is Walter, and he is on my website, I believe. But what I would say is now, Walter, what we did is we took that one word, right, because he was very severe, and we kept taking other words and we fashioned it. And now his baseline now is that he can speak up to sentences, phrases, because we just kept taking the things that he brought out of himself and fashioned it. So that's a long way to say, yes, you can play it with anyone. Yeah. If something happened to me, I want somebody to play WORDStim with me. So don't remember that, y'all. Come find me and play WORDStim.
Fred has a question.
Okay.
I have 2 questions. One, do you deal with severe dementia?
Okay. So it depends on what severe looks like.
Severe in terms of he can't speak, he needs assistance even walking.
Yeah. So with someone with severe dementia, and I have been in front of people who have had severe dementia, and I went to actually see a special case about that. And with that, we were not able to consistently, with WORDStim, pull out language because that's a different process that's happening. If a person does not have severe cognitive involvement, regarding not only just memory, but mainly the attention, because that's really the undercurrent of memory, right? That's when you deal with barriers, which we call, the 3 words we use are time, sense, onset. So how many years they were dealing with that. The difference with aphasia is and when I felt like this was real to me, I had a woman, she was chronically aphasia. In fact, I didn't know, I found out later. She had had it for 10 years. So because she was just dealing with an aphasia process, she did not have that barrier of time since onset when it came to WORDStim. But had she had like a dementia, she has other processes that are affecting her ability to recall and then also be consistent. So let's say someone with dementia, we can rebuild learning capabilities but that functional use would the context would be smaller. Whereas with aphasia, you're going to have more transfer to, I can go order a cup of coffee. When my husband comes home, I can, maybe say something about my day. Whereas with the severe dementia, we have not, because now we're beyond the language process. So, yes.
My next question is the card game. Does it come in different languages? For example, Spanish?
Sí. Sí, porque, and I'm not going to be, okay, I would go off in Spanish, but no. Okay, so that was a special love of mine because I did have a lot of Spanish speaking patients, and one of the individuals on the video that you just saw, we were doing WORDStim in Spanish. So I'm happy to say that it is available in English and Spanish, because that population, which is one of the more larger ones in terms of that we serve with speech pathology, we're really being underserved. And because I was really happy to be prepared with language, having learned and studied Latin and then some years of Spanish. So it's available in both. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
welcome. And
yeah,
thank you guys for having me.
we have a couple of slides before we go.
Okay.
So, but thank you, and just want to make sure that every we will send you the information to our group that weren't here.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, okay, so we're just going to go through this because we only have like 5 minutes left. So, but if you're on our Facebook group for MAAC, we ask people, or we try to encourage people to write again. So after a stroke, so the topic was soup. So all kinds of soup, and so what does it mean to you? What's it feel like to you? Uh, you know, is there any kind of soup that makes you think other times when you're young, uh, and what's it smell like? All things. So we just want to encourage people to write again, and if you can, try to do stuff on our website uh, for that. Uh, our next uh, our next event is going to be Mike Kent. Uh, this is MAAC virtually abroad, and he's going to talk to our group. And this is a different day that we usually do it. This is on a Thursday, and it's going to be at 12 because he lives in France. So he's going to be his time is at 6. Uh, what he is going to talk about it's people that after that their stroke, it's about being uh, being just depressed and anxiety and stuff like that. So he's going to talk to our group then. So hopefully that you will be there. You'll get the link for that. So hopefully we'll see for that. And then also in next month at February 9th is Matt is going to talk to our group again, and he is a great advocate for people that have aphasia. He lives in New Jersey, and he has talked to the governor there, or up the. I'm not sure if he talked to the governor, but he was at the Capitol there, so he will be there to talk to us. He is an aphasia ambassador for the National Aphasia Association. And then um, the next month, our the topic for reading again, and will be about coins. And then the last event, this will be our third annual mini conference. It's going to be in Bristol Township. It's March 21st at 10 to 3, and we have two speakers. Jonathan, he lives in England, so he has a video called "On the Tip of My Tongue," on the tip of the tongue, and it's a small video that he has that people that have aphasia, and then afterwards he's going to talk to our group. Also, Allison, she is a neurologist, and she is going to talk to our group about they are forming the Philadelphia or the Philly Art Day. So in that, there's going to be people that have aphasia, Parkinson's disease, other problems, or and then she's going to talk to us about that. So hopefully that you can be there, and so that would be about it. And I'll send this out to everyone.
And we just ask that anybody just register. Everything is free, but we
Right.
just ask you to we always give a little, lunch or for food. We just want to tell how many people were there. So that's the only reason we really need to register.
And
We'd love to see you guys come.
that would be great. So, and well, thank you very much, and I will see you next time.
Right. See ya.
Okay, bye.